Tensura X Gate. Thus the JSDF fought their X How Realist Hero Rebuild the Kingdom by NoruSensei. TeenFic.net Home Categories Bookmark Home Tensura X Gate. Thus the JSDF fought their X HDARHRTK Chapter 5. Meeting and War 1. Chapter 5. Meeting and War 1 Previous Next Shuna Pav. I was at the office doing paperwork. Is that unusual for me? Ever since I got married to Donna-sama I have my own set of paperworks. Though I can just finish them using Maginet. The paperwork that I'm working on is more on Tempest's production reports. After I finish those paperwork I transfer it to Donna-sama for her to read the monthly report. As the second chancellors of Tempest it's my duty to support everyone, especially Donna-sama who always worked hard. Even now despite of her being on adventure. Donna-sama still left her parallel existence to work those paperwork. After I finished my set of paperwork for the day I visited Onisama's house. As I arrived there I saw Onisama, Momiji, and Albus having a tea outside. As they saw me they waved their hands at me. I then waved back at them. "What makes you visit me today Shuna-sama," said Benimaru as he kneeled. Momiji and Albus did the same. "No need to be so stiff Onisama, Momiji, and Albus. I just came here as a family member," I said to them to lessen the pressure. As they seated around the table inside, I also took a seat. "So, how was your work Shuna?" Onisama asks. "It was fine Onisama. How about yours? You seem to enjoy your day off today," I said as I smirked. "You don't change even after you got married do you Shuna? The only changed is your looks, you looked more matured," Onisama commented in defeat. "My appearance? Oh right, after getting married to Donna-sama. My physical appearance changed from a maiden typically looking about 16 to 18 years old to 20 to 23 years old. My breast did got slightly bigger, but Shion still." "Shuna-sama why you're Aora," Momiji said nervously. "Ah, sorry," I said as I calmed myself. "So where is Ruji-chan?" "She is inside the room sleeping," Onisama replied. What a shame," I said as I looked down a bit. "What's wrong Shuna?" Onisama asked worried. "No, it's nothing Onisama. I was hoping to see her though, but it's okay." "Why yeah." Onisama just causally replied. Then suddenly we heard open double angle bracket thought communication close double angle bracket came from Donna-sama. "Greater than to all of my executives except for Testarossa and Moss come to the meeting room immediately, we have something to discuss very important," less than Donna-sama said in her serious voice. "Less than we're on our way Donna-sama, Rimuru-sama greater than we all said at the same time. Thus we teleported to the meeting room quickly. As Oni-sama and I teleported on the room, we also saw Sue, Hakuro, Shion, Ranga, Zijin, Apito, Adelman, Venti, Albert, Kumara, Diablo, Ultima, Carrera, Cian, Guy, Ruminas, Ramirez, Veldora, Beretta, Velgrand, Chloe, Hinata, Kaijin, Kurobe, Vesta, Garm, Dord, Murd, Gabiru, Guard, Feudora, Michelle, Milam, Frey, Carrion, Rigard, Gobta, Rogard, Rigurd, Ririna, Gard Mjalmile, Geld, Veyron, Esprit, Zonda, Agera, Dagura, Ryuta, Dabura, Cherries, Murin, Shinji, Mark, Jen, and Masayuki are present to the big meeting room in the castle where we held our meetings. The guests are King Gazel Dwargo and Empress Elmija El Rusarian. Now, I know you are asking why some of them are still alive when it was already 78 years had passed. To simply answer that, Donna-sama blessed them with immortality. Some of them were wondering why Donna-sama suddenly called an emergency meeting. But then Donna-sama finally appeared in front of us. Then Donna-sama smiled at us as we went quiet, then the rest looked at her. Rimuru, original, Pav. Everybody was here when I arrived to the meeting venue, since there are many of us. Sorry for the wait everyone. I told them. No it's fine Donna-sama. Now what was the meeting agenda about? Shuna asks. First I had decided to change our nation's name, I declared. Everybody was silent and stared at me with wide eyes. Then they quickly regained their composure. What is this new name of our nation Rimuru-sama? Rigard asks. From now on it shall be named as Jura Tempest Federation Queendom, I declared. Everybody then cheered on the new name of our nation. Then I cleared my throat to gain their attention once more. Every Tempest military personnel will have a new uniforms, I announced to them. They all looked excited, some had their eyes sparkling. Then I brought out some of the uniforms. Now let me explain it here. First let's start with my new uniform. It consists of bluish-silver military beret with a symbol of me when I was still Ultimate Slime. Of course I wear my ponytail for it. Then my top consists of bluish-silver polo and necktie with combat blazer and skirt. On my combat blazer I have those rank and insignia on both collar of the blazer. The rank and insignia was a queen's crown with number 1 on the bottom of the crown. It means that I'm the first queen and had the highest authority within Tempest. In the sleeves it has a patch of what unit I command or from what unit I came from. It has black with 5 strips of gold on it, it means I command the black numbers. I also had a symbol of my true dragon form at the blazer's shoulders. Female version, summer, either of these on winter season. Peas. Imagine it with beret, male version, summer. Either for winter season. Peas. Imagine it with a beret. A.N. This is the closest resemblance of the uniform I'm talking about. Just don't mind those Master Sergeant rank insignia on the sleeves. It is nothing supposed to be the rank insignia on the collar like this. It is also the same for the female version. It also has our nation's flag on the higher sleeves part. For my foot I wear stockings and black low heels. Now on the other's uniform it can depend on which units they came from. For example Benimaru, since he is the overall supreme commander of Tempest's forces, he wears a red version of my uniform. But he has the patches of green representing green numbers, yellow for yellow numbers and so forth. It is also the same with me but I only had gold with 6 black stripes, white with 5 gold stripes, and so forth. For the naval numbers and marine numbers they have the blue and navy blue representing them with the naval insignia for the navy and marine insignia for the marines. As for Tempest Air Force they have the cyan with the insignia of the Air Force representing them. Rumina's Valentine has the 3rd highest ranking next me and Shuna. For the elite units of Tempest like the Kawanshu Kuranai under Benimaru and its second-in-command Gobwe and Goblin Riders under Gobta and other Tempest elite units, they have a distinctive patch in them. For the Kawanshu Kuranai they had a patch insignia like this. It was their symbol. They also had that pinned in gold metal into their upper chest of the blazer on the right side. So that they can be distinguished as Kawanshu Kuranai Corps from red numbers. As for the Goblin Riders they had insignia of a Tempest Void Wolves on their upper sleeves, so that they can be distinguished from green numbers. What will be my explanation of different types of uniform for now? Anyway let's go back to the story. I then snapped my finger, in an instant I had changed my attire to my military uniform. They were so amazed by it. I then snapped my fingers and they also had their own uniform, each representing their unit's color, rank, and from what branch of Tempest units they're into. As for Rigard, his uniform has the charcoal gray with gold linings blazer. He has the insignia symbolizes his position as the Prime Minister of Tempest. They looked more formal and powerful, I thought to myself. Now as for Chloe and Hinata, they have the dark gray colored uniforms. Chloe has the rank and insignia of general equivalent to the JSDF. Since she is the headmaster of Tempest Institute of Human Resources Development Academy. Like this. For summer type. For winter type. Peas. Imagine it as dark gray. As for Hinata, since she is the vice headmaster of Tempest Institute of Human Resources Development Academy. Her rank and insignia is like the lieutenant general equivalent to the JSDF. For summer type. For winter type. Peas. Just imagine it as dark gray. Since both of them are true heroes, they had the true heroes insignia on their shoulders. And they have a school insignia representing Tempest Institute of Human Resources Development Academy. But Chloe had one more emblem symbol on her. She has the queen crown symbol on her lower sleeves symbolizes she is my wife. Less than greater than don't worry seal. Less than I reassured. Less than HMPF, greater than. Looks like Seal is jealous. I thought to myself as I waited for the rest to calm down. After they have calmed down, I explained to them that I will be visiting a nation called Japan soon. At first they had some complaints but in the end it was decided I will take Testa and Chloe. Of course Shuna was not happy about it at first, but when I explained to her that she needs to stay here as the second Queen of Tempest and promised to go on a date with her next time, she agreed. Then we moved to the next part of the meeting. Now for the next part of the meeting, there is a king from a kingdom called ELFREN at the supercontinent called Landia. The king's name was Soma Kazuya. Currently he had some information about our nation. Don't worry, I'm the one who told him some of the information, I said to them. Soma Kazuya. It's pretty much a Japanese name, isn't it, Rimuru? Hinata casually asks. You are correct, Hinata, I said to her. Then I started to talk about Soma Kazuya. From how did he got summoned into another world, up until to the current events. This is quite an interesting king you had eyes on, Rimuru, Gazel said. I agree. Elmesia added. I can see the potential of him being a good king in the future, Gazel commented. Now as for Testa and Moss, she is currently assisting the JSDF unit there called the 3rd Recon Team, I said to them. Kukuku, so that's why she is not here, Diablo commented as he started to laugh. That's unfair. Why does she have the fun? Carrera said in envy. That's right, that woman, she is keeping something fun from us, Ultima agreed with Carrera. This is why I didn't order you, the both of you, to help them, I said to them. Well. Maybe Okawa-sama had something better for us, Carrera commented. Hee, I agree with you this time, Ultima agreeing to what Carrera said. Kuahahahahahaha. Nei-sama, allow me to go with you to that kingdom you spoke about earlier. My rampaging maniac, idiotic little brother and otaku lizard, Veldora said. This stupid lizard as always, Ruminas said, irritated to Veldora. Era, are you planning to go rampaging at that new supercontinent somewhere, Veldora? A sudden voice said. Veldora, who heard this, started to shake as he knew whose voice is that. Ayaneki. What are you doing here? Veldora was shattering from fear out of Vels-chan, then she appeared right next to me. What an interesting topic you are currently discussing, Nei-san, Vels-chan said to me as she hugs me. Vels-chan, I said to her as I reciprocate the hug. I could feel the gazes of those people who are jealous at me. Oi, stop feeling jealous from this, I thought to myself. Then Vels-chan releases her hug, then took a seat next to Shuna. Well, it did shut up some comments about what that idiot brother of mine said moments ago, I thought to myself as I sighed in defeat. Ehem. Anyway, no, Veldora, you'll stay here back in Tempest, I ordered to him. Veldora murmured. You know I could still hear you, right? Most of them sighed in relief while Velzard and I stared at him. Now going back to the topic, I said to change the topic. In few days from now there will be a war going to happen in ELFREN Kingdom, I informed them. Most of them were shocked from what they just heard. I smirked a bit as I told them the interesting part of this war. Then we talked about sending reinforcement for Soma-kun's army. It was decided that Shuna's Horokyasuda Pink Corps from Pink Numbers are going to be sent as expeditionary force to back up Soma's units. It was also to see what are they capable of. Testarossa Pav. Few hours of observing those interesting individuals, I saw some of those lowly warriors scouting the area. Giggles, it looks like it's time, I said to Moss. Looks like it, Testarossa-sama. He replies. Then, we shall introduce ourselves, Moss, I said as I smiled widely. Hi, you are correct, Testarossa-sama. Then we teleported to where the 3rd Recon Team is currently. Atami UG POV. We're currently sitting on the castle walls. Then suddenly a woman with silver hair, with crimson eyes, wears a black military uniform similar to our summer-type service dress uniform. Together with her is a beautiful young man who also wears the same uniform as the lady. He has ash-gray hair. Some of the squad units aimed their weapons at them, but they just smiled. What an interesting way to grade us, don't you think? The woman said. Well, we don't know who you are, miss. We were just being careful after all, I replied. As expected of you. Now you don't have to point your guns against us, no. We're pretty defenseless here, we also don't have any weapon with us, she said in a matured woman voice. Besides, we don't have any hostilities against you, and Testarossa-sama is right. You are pretty interesting for a human, the young man said. So your name is Testarossa, correct? I asked the beautiful Oni-san. That is correct. I came here to help you, also we have something to talk. Testarossa-san was then interrupted by a sudden war cry. Then we saw that the east side of the city was getting attacked by the bandits. It looks like it's time, she said. At the east side, huh? I commented in disbelief. They're an army before after all. So attacking at this time is good, Kuwahara-san commented. Then we lowered our weapons at the possible allies. Third POV. The bandits had started to attack at the east side of the city. The conscripts consists of Italica's citizens are fighting together with a squad leader from Pena's Rose Order. His name was Norma County Igloo. As the bandits got near the walls, they put a ladder to get at the top of the wall. Some archers fired their bows, but most of the arrows missed. It was due to someone had a wind magic. It causes for the arrows to go at another direction. This manages for the bandits to got up the castle walls, and the fight between the defenders and the attackers had started. The defenders now cannot hold the walls any longer. Norma, who saw this, advised the rest to hold longer as the men in green will help them. So he started to kill some of the bandits. As he stabbed the sword into one of the bandits and pulled it out, he saw the smile of that bandit. As if they enjoyed it, as this is their battle. He then saw another one running towards him, so they had an exchanging sword fight against each other. But as he was focusing to his enemy, he suddenly got stabbed at the back. Norma, who was fighting for his consciousness, heard what seems to be the leader of the bandits had said. Their general, Norma County Igloo, has been slain. The bandit leader proclaimed as he tossed away Norma's helpless body. Now he closed his eyes and lost his consciousness as he stopped breathing. Pena County Lada POV. Your Highness, it looks like they had attacked on the east side, Hamilton said to me as I clenched my fist in frustration. They're too weak, I managed to say in disbelief of what I'm witnessing right now. Where are the men in green? I heard from someone. Won't they help us? Another one said. So they won't come to help us because they knew about them being my bait. I thought to myself as I'm frustrated at myself and clenched my fist. But then suddenly I could hear someone's laughter. It was a woman who's wearing a black clothing. I could see she just got there out of nowhere. Together with her is a young man who is also wearing the same said black clothing as the woman. They don't have a single weapon. Do they plan to be killed? I thought to myself in disbelief. Atami UG POV. It's nice to meet you, I'm Testarossa. I came here as your backup, she said to me. Then I could hear Rory moaning and holding her bottom. I was not having some those thoughts, so I asked Lele. What is happening to her? Whenever someone dies, Rory will have to go in this state. The more souls from someone dies at the battlefield, the more she will be in this state. It works like an aphrodisiac to her, Lele explained. You mean those souls who were killed on a battle? I asked. Yes, Rory is an apostle of Mbwa, the god of darkness, war, death, violence, and insanity. But mostly known as the god of war by most people. Lele added more information. I can't take this anymore, Rory said as she suddenly stood up and fled towards the battlefield. Well then, we'll talk again later, Atami UG. Testarossa-san said as she vanished with the young man. We were dumbfounded for a second, then I came back to my senses. Kuribayashi, Kurata, Kuwahara and Tomita with me. The rest stay here and be on standby, I ordered. Ha! They said as they saluted. We then took a ride of Toyota high mobility vehicle and took off towards where Rory was heading. Everyone remove your night googles since it already had some sunrise, you too Kuribayashi. You likely break them after all. I reminded them, especially Kuribayashi, as I fired a flare to signal the upcoming backup. She said. Remove that if you don't want to get scolded again, Tomita said to Kuribayashi. Arg fine, said Kuribayashi as she removes the night vision goggles. As we arrived near the battlefield, we went out of the vehicle and ready our guns, then attached the bayonet. Then Kuribayashi went off excitedly towards the battlefield. That idiot, cover her, I ordered as I started to aim my rifle towards the enemy. Now what was the rifle we are using? We are using the Hoa Type 64 rifle. This is our combat rifles that was introduced in 1964. It was still in service today. Now we had more advanced guns than this one, but this rifle is like a disposable weapons if ever something happens. Now I will not talk about guns right now. Maybe I will in the future with the help of some of my subordinates to demonstrate. Of course they're there. I guessed they teleported here, I said to myself as I saw two similar figures that just suddenly vanished right in front of us. Yanagita Akira POV. Few hours before I was just having a break from my work when a certain someone contacted me via radio. What was the radio, you ask? Those radio we had some units are either into the enemy lines or back into the HQ to the front lines. Anyway, I then told to Itami that he was summoned on by the Diet. Huh? What do you mean you can't go back today, Itami? I raised my voice in surprise. Well, when we arrived at the trading center Italica, there was a war going put here and we're currently inside, Itami explains. This man. Just how did he got promoted that easily, being on the same rank as mine, when he just joined the SDF to support his hobbies? I thought to myself as I'm getting pissed. There is a favor I want you to do for me, he said. Oh, what favor is that? I replied. The thing is, I want to request backup immediately, Itami said. I then sighed in defeat as I told this to Lieutenant General Hamaza. Few hours later. I can't believe they wanted to help Itami. All of the colonels are arguing and convincing Lieutenant General Hamaza to mobilize them. Then he decided that the one will go is the 4th Combat Regiment under Colonel Kengan Shunya. Present. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Yanagida Akira, 30-year-old male. I'm a first lieutenant of the JSDF, adjutant of Lieutenant General Hamaza. Currently I'm looking out of the window as I sighed in what Itami is up to right now. Soma Kazuya Pav. I, Lisha, Aisha, Rimuru-san, Juna, Hal and Kaide are inside of a private place in the restaurant. I was seated on a chair with Hal and Kaide on my left side and Lisha and Rimuru-san on my right, while Aisha was standing behind them. Juna was standing beside me but not too close. What exactly is this? Kaide said in a lowered voice. Ah. Don't tell me you heard what the rebellious Hal was saying, and are here to arrest him. It's not like that. Hal is just a little soft in the head. He would never do something as serious as rebel, she said. PFF'd. Ha ha ha. No, you have it all wrong, I said while I'm having my hand signal that is not. Then what are you doing here? Kaide asks. I got some unexpected time off, and I just popped into Juna's cafe, I causally said. Oh, is that right? She said as Kaide relaxed her shoulders a bit. Who are you? One of Kaide's acquaintances? Hal asks, irritated. No, not exactly. I causally replied to Hal. Then why are you sticking your nose in? Hal furiously asked as Kaide is getting nervous. Ah, Hal. Take it easy. She tries to calm Hal. Shut up. Hal then slams his hand on the table. You keep your mouth shut, Hal continued saying in an irritated voice towards Kaide. I can see Lisha is having a disgusted face looking at Hal. On the other hand, Rimuru-san. No, never mind, it might be my imagination. Aisha then opens her one eye to look at Hal. Hey, you don't have to raise your voice to her. She's just a girl, I said to Hal. Butt out. Whose fault do you think is? Hal said to me as he was about to point a finger at me. But then it was grabbed by Aisha and was holding his arm and face, lifting him out of his seat. Era, Rimuru-san said in a slight scary voice as she looks into this sudden development. Meanwhile, Kaide was speechless and a bit scared at the same time while looking at the situation. Hal is suffering. Well, he deserved it, but let's tell Aisha that is enough. Aisha, that's enough, I said to her. Aisha looks at me, then she lets go of Hal. Then Hal is now holding his face in pain. I then could hear Juna sighed out of relief from the situation. Then Hal looked at me with still having some furious expression, then said, Why, you? Who the hell are you? He furiously said. I don't get a chance to do this very often, so maybe I'll try out that line, I thought to myself in excitement as I fixed my blazer. I then cleared my throat and Hal seems to be interested in my introduction. Less than era, Soma-kun. I can't wait for this, giggles greater than Rimuru-san said via thought communication as she had a smile on her face. I then fixed my glasses and said, Halbert, have you forgotten my face? He then looks at me closely. Then he realized. It can't be, he said dumbfounded. Why, your majesty? Hal said in fear. Then he proceeds to hide behind Kaide. I enjoyed this one, I thought. Less than so die Soma-kun. Greater than Rimuru-san said via thought communication. He's not going to give me the... There's no way the Shogun himself would come here. Routine. I thought to myself as I watched how Hal's expression was. Less than of course he would not give that routine you were imaginating Soma-kun, greater than Rimuru-san teasingly said via thought communication. Kei Kaide, did you know it was him? He asks in fear. Him. Kaide nods her head, then why didn't you say something sooner? Halbert, wasn't it? I interrupted. He then looks at me with fear. Are you planning to side with Duke Carmen? I asked to him seriously. He was surprised by this question. Well, that is. He tries to say something but can't look to me. I wouldn't really blame you if you did, I said to break the silence. Both Kaide and Halbert were shocked. Just as a ruler chooses and appoints his officers, I believe those officers have a right to choose the ruler they're going to serve, I told them. You there, how do you know Halbert? I asked Kaide. We're childhood friends, sire, she answered, and Halbert nods in agreement. Childhood friends, I paused for a second. Halbert, as I said earlier, I will not stop you from siding with the three dukedoms. However, are you sure you realize that after I go against the three dukedoms, you will be on opposite sides of the conflict from her? I said and asked him directly. He seems to be thinking. I hear that she is a mage with the Forbidden Army, meaning that she is in a unit that reports directly to me. When you are out on the battlefield, will you be able to raise your sword against her as your enemy? I gave him another question. Again he is thinking, or just that speechless. Looks like he is thinking of it carefully. I'll continue this, I thought to myself as I continued. And even if you are not personally the one to do it, someone else on your side might take her life. In the heat of battle, when you know that she will be exposed to danger, you, who will be with the opposing force, will not be allowed to save her. I paused for a second as he realized. That's just how important Kaide to him really is. Halbert Magna, the road you are about to choose does not lead down into the future all that far, I finished. There was a long silence. Then I continued, remember well before you get swept up in the moment, and take any actions that may prove to be rash, what it is that you truly desire. Why do you desire it, and for whom? I gave him an advice. Why I desire it, and for whom? He asks as that was he looks at Kaide, who was smiling at him. Halbert then stared at her for a bit. Then he made a determination look on his face. Then Kaide smiles at him widely. Era, Rimuru-san commented as she covered her face with a folding fan. What a folding fan. Where did she got it? I thought to myself for a second as I remembered that she was a goddess. Less than Era. Starting to forget it already, Kazuya-kun? Greater than, Rimuru-san said in her usual teasing voice. Greater than N. No, I didn't. I was just confused for a second. Less than, I replied, flustered. Then we left from the restaurant and explored more for a bit before going back to the castle. Lisha ELFREN POV. Soma is currently showing me his handmade puppet is making some moves at the balcony. As I looked at it I was remembering what we just talked about yesterday before we came to the restaurant. Flashback. Soma, Aisha and Rimuru-sama are currently at the park taking a short break. Rimuru-sama is currently at a tree just sitting there while Aisha was fall fast asleep. Lisha. Just a little break. The moment she lied down, she fell asleep. I commented as I look at Aisha who was drooling. Asiha. Sleeping noises. Soma. Sounds like she's having a nice dream, he causally said. Lisha. Say, Soma. I paused for a second. Soma. Lisha. Would you like to rest your head on my lap? I offered. Soma. Why? He flustered Lisha. Why, well, this is supposed to be a date, after all. I managed to say while I'm really embarrassed. Less than Era, how cute, greater than. Did I just heard Rimuru-sama from my head? What is this? Some sort of telepathy? I then decided to ignore it for now. Soma. Well then, I guess we could do that. Then he laid his head on my lap. There was a moment of silence after that. I then can't help but smile at him as I look at Soma. Lisha. Does this make us look like we're engaged? I finally managed to say it. Soma. Yeah, in name only, at least. Lisha. Name only. Then I remembered what Soma had told me before. You don't have to give our engagement another thought. I'm only keeping the throne warm for now. After a few years of this, I'll probably give up being the king. I then looked at him and asked Lisha. Soma, Do you not want to be engaged to me? I said it in a low but a bit sad voice. Then he looks at my eyes. Soma. Huh? It's not fair to ask me like that. Lisha. It isn't. Soma. Okay, Lisha, are you okay with it? With being engaged to me? He then looks away from my gaze. Lisha. I don't mind. Then he looks at me again in my eyes and had a surprised reaction from my sudden approval. I looked at his eyes, then I realized that I was looking too much at him, so I removed my gaze and looked at somewhere as I said. Lisha. Well, you know, you're better suited to being the king than me. I said flustered. Soma. You'd get engaged to someone you didn't even love just because they are suited to being the king. Lisha. That's what it's like to be royalty. Soma. But I'm not royalty. Besides. He paused for a second as he looks away from my gaze. Soma. I'd really rather marry for love. So does that mean he will not like me or love me? Lisha. Then, do you dislike me? Can you say for sure that you'll never fall in love with me? I asked as he then looks at me. Then there was a moment of silence again between us. Then after that long silence someone broke it. Aisha. Anu. Excuse me. Then Soma and I were surprised from who just spoke. Soma and Lisha. Then Soma removes his head on my lap out of surprise. Aisha. How long am I supposed to pretend to be asleep? She said while her eyes were still closed. Soma and I were really speechless about it. Then Rimuru-sama approached us and said, Rimuru. Shall we go now? And then I was so embarrassed as we walked towards to the restaurant where Juna is working. End of flashback. Present time. How about that? Pretty good, right? Soma asks me as that helped me to stop reminiscing. You're moving him using your living poltergeist magic, right? I said in a deadpan expression. I must have leveled it up using it so much, or something, but now I can move 4 things with independent consciousnesses. He proudly said. All the same, you don't have to go using it on something like that. I said it in defeat. Your Majesty. Someone suddenly said. Soma and I then looked at the person who just called Soma. It was Serena. Glaive Magna, head of the Magna family, his son, Halbert, and Kaide Foxia, mage with the Forbidden Army, are requesting an audience with you, Your Majesty. Serena reported. Soma stood up and nodded as he goes back into the office and followed him. He then went near to Rimuru-sama, who were currently enjoying her tea. Rimuru-san, let's go. He asks. Soma. You don't have to disturb her tea time. I thought to myself as I sighed in defeat. Era, what can I do? I also found this interesting. Rimuru-sama said as she smiles widely. Third Pav. The bandits and the citizens of Italica are looking at 2 figures who just suddenly appeared in front of them. Then someone from the bandit who has a large build on his body with a spinning large mace has his weapon suddenly went to then and swung the weapon. But those 2 said figures who were supposed to be hit by it vanishes. Then suddenly another figure with a huge purplish axe appeared from above while it giggled. It was Rory Mercury. She then starts to attack this bandit who seems to be their triumph card. After a fierce battle, Rory finally killed the large bandit. Some of the bandits saw this were in fear. Suddenly something exploded on the castle walls. This causes the leader of the bandits falls and to be stabbed from above by Rory's weapon. The leader of the bandits who were on the verge of dying from the stab asked Rory. Would you call this a war, apostle of Embroy? Rory ignored it. Then it said something. I don't think it as a war. Then he closes his eyes. Rory just tossed aside the bandit leader's dead body from her trusty huge purplish axe. Most of the bandits who saw their leader dead felt fear. But then another one encouraged them to attack Rory. But some of them got their heads decapitated before they can even approach Rory. Who did this? It was Testarossa. She was moving in unbelievable speeds, decapitating some bandits' heads along the way. Meanwhile, Moss also have gone into killing spree outside of the gate. Some explosions are heard, but that didn't stop Kuribayashi to step in and also had some fun having a battle with the bandits. Atami and Tomita meanwhile started to aim at some bandits who were trying to surround Kuribayashi and shoots them with a single shots. Those explosions are the JSDF helicopters who are aiming and destroying the possible AW gun that has been aimed at them, but fortunately it doesn't have any projectiles from it. After that done an announcement from the JSDF AH-1S Cobra pilot from 4th Combat Regiment. Recon 3, this is Hunter 1. On the count of 10, we're going to wipe out the targets inside the gate. Evacuate immediately. The AH-1S Cobra pilot said as he flies above where Atami, Rory, Testarossa, the city defenders and his men are. Repeat, we will now wipe out the enemies inside the gate. Evacuate immediately. 10, 9, 8, 7. After the pilot gave the final warning, it started to count down. Most of the city defenders were speechless when they saw the combat helicopter. Atami and Kuwahara rushed to get the both of Kuribayashi and Rory. Atami then Princess carried Rory while Kuwahara did the soldiers carry onto Kuribayashi. 6, 5, 4, 3. The pilot continues. Put me down. I can run on my own. Kuribayashi said in embarrassment. Testarossa and Moss then vanished from the enemy's sight and moved with the city defenders' side. Most of the bandits that were inside the city walls are just staring at the combat helicopter. Then it started to fire. You can hear the Gatling sound from the AH-1S Cobra's Gatling cannons. Bullets are heard with impact on the castle walls. Everyone can hear the armor being pierced and the screams of the bandits getting shot at. That left it into smokes as the AH-1S Cobra pilot fires it from left to right, wiping out the bandits, and after few more seconds the pilot stops firing. It left the city defenders and the princess speechless. Testarossa meanwhile was just smiling on her own. As for Moss, he just sighed in the sight of chaos and the reaction of Testarossa. A monster, Hamilton managed to say while she had her mouth open in shock and disbelief. An iron Pegasus. What is that? Absolute violence that no human can withstand. The power to crush everything. A power that denies pride, honor, and everything else. Pina Company Lotta said in disbelief. Meanwhile, it's over, Lele said as she witnessed on how the anonymous flying iron Pegasus were able to wipe out the rest of the bandits inside the city walls. The brigands were wiped out. Tuka unconsciously asked as she looks to it.
Back to someone. Is this the goddess mocking us? How frail, worthless, and insignificant we humans are. The princess said as she is staring at the another iron Pegasus. Ropes were dropped from the Bell A-1 helicopter version A-1J. A.N. The A-1J is a Japanese version of the Bell A-1 utility helicopter. Another of it was the UH-1H. Drop. ASDF soldier commanded. Keep a close eye on our perimeter, another SDF squad leader said. Rescue the survivors, he then added. This one's still breathing, another SDF soldier reported. Colonel, this is Yuga. The enemy force has been wiped out. No other enemies in the vicinity. Over. A soldier named Yuga reported the current situation to his colonel. Well done. The colonel replied. It's over, huh? Atami commented. Thank you. You saved our town. What army are you with? A man from the defenders thanked them. Tomita looks at him and he replied, we are the JSDF. A.N. Tomita introduced themselves as JSDF and not SDF due of them being outside of Japan's territory. Also the JSDF and the SDF only had one word in Japanese. That is, Jiatai. All those brigands. And almost every single one is dead. Just what is this JSDF? Pina asked, but no one answered. Or that was at least supposed to. Suddenly a voice spoke. That is the enemy that you, the Empire, were up against. Pina then looks around to find a woman in her 20s with bluish silver hair and golden eyes that see through even your very own soul. Then the dumbfounded princess were shocked at first, but then she finally asked to the mysterious woman. Who are you exactly?